Okay, you guys have no idea. I just recorded 30 minutes and I just realized that the microphone wasn't even on. I feel like a dumbass. I'm gonna try and repeat everything I just said. And yeah, this is my video about Civil War. Fuck. God Welcome back to my channel. I'm really happy about all the support that I've received from my first video that I uploaded. That I put a lot of work into that video, mentally and physically. But today, I'm going to talk about one of the films that I mentioned in that last video, that being Civil War, the new film by Alex Garland. I am going to be mentioning what happens at the end and what happens throughout the film in this video. So I just want to let you guys know you're watching a review about a movie that just came out. So if you care about spoilers, you're watching the wrong video. Civil War is not a war movie. I just want to, that's my first thing I want to kind of warn people about, because I've seen on Instagram and stuff like that people are expecting a certain thing out of this film and they're just not getting it, and therefore they're calling it a terrible movie. I see a lot of people, like if you look on A24's Instagram, there's like comments of people saying what a shitty movie, false advertising, this, that. That sounds like a personal problem. I think this film is actually really great, and I think it's kind of genius that it kind of tricked everybody. I thought it was really cool that it did that, where it's kind of set people up. It set me up. I thought it was going to be this crazy, divisive film that's going to make people argue and going to make people think, which that wouldn't be a terrible movie to come out right now. We could use a lot of discussion, maybe not arguments, but we could use a lot of discussion. But this film is not that. I think that this film really is playing with the fluctuation of sound and pace, and also kind of tone, to where there's a lot of very brutal parts and some gruesome graphic visuals, but there's also some relieving parts that are of like some joy, some heartfelt moments, like when Joel, played by Wagner Moura, is talking to, what's her name, Jessie, played by Kaylee Spaney, in the back of the truck. I think it's after like the first day of them, you know, going on this like road trip. And that's what this film is. It's more of like a road trip kind of film. It's not a war movie. I think I just have to keep repeating that, because although it's called Civil War, it's not about the Texas and California versus the rest of the nation. It's that all of that has nothing to do with the film. It's about these photojournalists, these war photographers, who are going from New York City to Washington, D.C., but not straight there. They have to go like around. They have to take a long route to D.C. to go interview the president. And there's like 4 or 5 of them that go there. And it's just this crazy journey that is in the same parallel as Apocalypse Now. Not saying that this film is Apocalypse Now, but you have to compare it because of this journey. Apocalypse Now is one of the greatest films of all time, but that's much more of a spiritual, dark journey through the Vietnam War. But Civil War is definitely still dark as fuck, but it's not as political, or it's not political at all. It's genuinely just this character study of Kirsten Dunst, who plays Lee Smith, obviously a war photographer, and she kind of becomes this mentor, adopts this mentor role over Jessie, and she plays that role so well. I think it's one of the best performances that I've seen so far this year. It's done so well, because you can tell she plays this tired, kind of fed up, motherly figure, and you can tell she obviously has like PTSD throughout, you know, her whole career of being a photojournalist. But she sees this bright-eyed, you know, young girl who's trying to become, you know, a war journalist, and turns out that Jessie is idolized. She has idolized Lee for everything she's done, and mentioning that she's taken like iconic pictures, you know. But when Lee first hears that she wants to be a war photographer, that look on her face kind of says everything you need to know. There's so much power behind her, the way she talks, the pauses in her sentences. It's a very niche performance, and I feel like it shouldn't go, you know, overseen. Early on in the movie, there's a gas station scene that shows these two dudes that are all like bloody and beat up, and they're hanging from their hands. And Lee asks one of the dudes that has them hanging there to stand next to the two dudes, and so she can take a picture. But Jesse's so shocked and so panicked that she doesn't even remember that she has a camera. Like she just completely, she fumbles the shot, and she ends up, you know, regretting it. And when they leave that gas station, she's like, fuck, I didn't even take a picture. And then you see that Lee, that's kind of the moment she adopts this motherly role to Jesse, this mentorship to Jesse, to where she says that you're going to see a lot of fucked up stuff, and you just have to get used to it. It's going to get a lot worse. And she's kind of like mentally preparing her for all of the terrible things that are going to happen. Not that terrible shit might happen, it's just, it's a fact, it's definite. At the end of that first like lesson being taught, Jesse asks Lee, would you photograph the moment if I got shot? And Lee says, what do you think? And to me, that's like the most sinister exchange in the entire film, because of what happens at the end. It's how those roles, how that question kind of gets flipped on both of them. It's a very intense film emotionally, because you can see that Jessie is just trying to do what she loves, but it feels like too much most of the time because of how immersive this film actually is, with all of the sound and even the absence of sound. It's so perfect. And that's kind of a common thing throughout Alex Garland's films. Sound has always been a beautiful part of his films, especially with Ex Machina, I think is my favorite film of his, and his use of sound. The ebbs and flows of their journey to Washington, D.C. Come with, you know, these slight parts of relief when you see the SUV come up from behind them driving down that windy road in the middle of the forest. You think that something terrible is going to happen, like someone's following them, but then it turns out to be their friends. But then Jesse hopping into their friend's SUV while they're driving on the road, that turns into an even worse situation when they meet Jesse Plemons' character, and Jesse Plemons absolutely bodies that role of just playing the biggest psychopaths of all time in any of his roles. I feel like it's kind of a joke online now that he's a little too good at playing those roles, but I think that the idea of structuring the film moment by moment on this road trip is just genius. But as far as this film taking a side, I'm really glad it doesn't. I'm really glad it is apolitical. The fact that people are like digging for meaning in this film, digging for a side, digging for a perspective in this film, it's funny almost that they're getting so disappointed by it. And because of them getting so disappointed, they're saying that these films are terrible. Or if you look on the A24 comments when they're posting about Civil War, you could see that they're saying like, it's not even about whatever. And I think that's hilarious, because it's like, why the fuck are you so mad about, you know, them saying this? Because clearly everyone has their own agenda going into this film, and coming out of it, it's not what they wanted. And that's just the beauty of movies. But yeah, I know I don't really have a take on this film. I'm not, I guess if I were to give it a rating, which it's so weird giving it a rating so soon because I feel like it still just came out. I'm not gonna give it a rating. I'm not even gonna do that. I just said a rating, but I'm gonna cut it out because it's so weird. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna let you guys watch it and let you guys enjoy it. But yeah, I know I don't really this wasn't necessarily a review. I was just kind of naming stuff that I liked about it. I do think it is worth the watch. I think it is very it's a very gripping film, and to me, I think it's a lot better than the films that are actually taking a side. One last thing that I actually really liked about the film was the constant showing of the actual pictures that they're taking throughout the film, and the little shutter of the camera sound that they put in the film. I love Jesse's pictures. I'm not trying to compare Lee's pictures versus Jesse's pictures, but I thought Jesse's pictures were so much better. And I don't know if they did that on purpose, because Jesse's pictures were a lot more provocative. I think they said a lot more. I think they were a lot more, I don't want to say a lot more artistic, but there was a lot more emotion added to her photos. But with Lee's pictures, they were a lot more verite. They were a lot more guerrilla style. They were just kind of more documentative, to where they were just capturing a moment or whatever. But I feel like Jesse's pictures could be framed, and they're like works of art. When they show the pictures, I like how when they show the pictures, some of them are shown for maybe half a second, and then another picture will be shown for 3 seconds, 4 seconds. I think it's very powerful. And even at the very end, when they take a picture of the president dead, it cuts to white, and then it slowly develops. It's like you're watching a picture develop as the end credits. And I thought that was pretty cool. I'm still really upset that I recorded the video that doesn't exist. Was way better than this one. The video that I recorded there was no audio for it, and that video was a lot longer and a lot better than this one. So I guess we're gonna see how this goes. But I know I didn't say a lot. I think I'm afraid of repeating myself. I literally just don't know if I said something already or not, because I basically recorded this video twice. So I'm sorry if a lot of it didn't make sense, or if I'm referring to something I already said. That was my bad. The next video I'm gonna do, I'm not sure exactly what it's gonna be about, but obviously you'll see me then. I don't know if it's gonna be my next one or not, but Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes comes out May 10th, I believe, and I'm for sure gonna do a video on that, because I love the Planet of the Apes movies, all of them. When that comes out, I'm gonna be seeing it and then doing not only a review on the new film, but I'm also gonna be just going over every single Planet of the Apes movies, and even the older ones. I haven't watched all of them in a very long time, so it's gonna be super fun, just going movie by movie and what I like about each one. Kind of doing a small review for every Planet of the Apes movie, but really doing a big review on the newer one. I'm really excited to make that video, but I don't know what's gonna come between that one and this one. So yeah, I'll just catch you guys on the next video, and peace out.